Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's show. I'm Jack Canfield, your host. I have a great guest today. Her name is Gloria Parker, who I like to describe as a 75-year-old survivor, and she describes herself as the psychic bartender. We're going to learn more about that in a minute. And she shares stories of hope and inspiration from her 33 years as a bartender to her eventual spiritual awakening as a novice and a pioneer, at that time in the unknown world of metaphysics. And maybe it's still unknown to you as well. We'll find out. So welcome to the show, Gloria.
Why, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be with you.
Well, I love having you here. So let's talk a little bit about how you got started. You can start your story wherever you want. And what put you on your current mission?
My current mission is an accumulation of spirit. I was a bartender for 33 years and then actually for the first time ever, got put out of a job, which I always say they took my job away and got me on my spiritual path, So I also do numerology, and I'm a 7 life path, which is all about spirit. So all of this stuff you don't learn at one time, you learn a little bit at a time. And so when I lost my job, I didn't want to do bartending anymore. It was the only thing I knew, 33 years. And then I started getting crazy dreams that led me to 33 years now of metaphysics.
So you basically, from what I understand, you get intuition, you get inner voices, you hear spirit talking to you. Is that correct?
I get dreams.
Dreams. And in those dreams, it kind of guides you?
Yes. I always say I have 3 steps, 2 forward and 1 back. In the middle is the quantum, where all the work is done, where you listen and you let them have, you just have to be patient. And a lot of people lose it, I think, or miss it because they can't be that patient. And so, that's how I do it.
And why do you feel the work you're doing is so important?
Well, I know it's important because I started one of the first things that Spirit did was I opened up a bookstore that I knew nothing about in the middle of Georgia, which was, it's a Christian state and a red state and a backward state in some areas. And so people would flock to my store, and everybody wanted to know something. But if you go into a bookshelf, then I don't know about now, but then, and you look at the books, it's like, I don't know. I don't understand any of these titles, or I wouldn't know what the title meant. And then you get into it and it helps with your self-esteem and it gives you, and it builds in boundaries for you. It teaches you everything. And, those to me is the foundation of living a good, healthy, happy life. Once you get those principles down.
Uh-huh. Now, you started a metaphysical bookstore in the middle of Georgia. Was it Alpharetta? Is that where you were?
Yeah.
and you had been a bartender before that. What was that like to just start a metaphysical bookstore in the middle of there?
Jack, that's why I thought the book was, I thought that I was doing something different and it ended up being with you. Once again, I had no intentions of writing a book. That's why the book, you can't say the book is ready for me to send out today, is because this happened pretty fast, which is how they work. So I had a little farm raising my daughter, and all of a sudden I'm getting all this weirdness again. They were saying, go drive into Alpharetta. And I said, why? Well, I had no idea. So that's what I'm saying. It's like my stuff has come in where I knew absolutely nothing. Okay. So when I opened my bookstore, I was running my store and tending bar five nights a week. Because the store ain't going to make you money right away. That's for sure. So, it's like everything that I've done. And then 2 years into my store, I had these really weird 9 months of weird dreams and started a metaphysical newspaper in Atlanta called Aquarius, a sign of the times. And that was the weirdest. So my world now is nothing will ever be as weird as that, because there's just no way. I couldn't even talk to anybody. I didn't know what a publisher was. I had never read a newspaper. So when you do that, it's like, that's what I think my message really is. Stop worrying about outcomes and just do what God puts in front of you. Say, why is this happening? Why did this happen? and see if you can figure out something that you can go to your next step with, because that's usually where your journey is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been talking a lot to people lately about God's not doing anything to you. He's doing it for you. You don't always understand why, but that's part of the journey, and just trust it and go along with it. Takes a lot of courage, don't you think, to follow those inner guidance that you were getting?
Honey, you have no idea. You have no idea, because I know a lot of people think that bartenders make a lot of money, and that just is not true. You can have a really good night or good week that'll buy you that extra couch, or you need a new refrigerator or whatever. But bartenders if you think about it, you can only wait on so many people and make so much money. And there's no bonuses, and there's nothing, no frills in that industry, even today. And so, I know I'm going way back. Okay. I'm going back into the 60s, but I worked a lot. I worked a lot. And that's why when I started messing with this idea of the book, how I did it was I did a work history, because that's how I could identify and go back and say, well, when was that? When did that happen? I go, oh, I was working here, or I was doing this, or that was in those years. And that's the only way I could do the reference thing. I couldn't do it. So, but yeah, it did take a lot. I'm not going to poo-poo the idea that it wasn't easy. There wasn't anything easy, but the best things that happen to you in life are not really easy. They do take you going out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah, well, your book, which I've read a lot of, is that you definitely, you were out of your comfort zone quite a bit. Yeah. Now, your book and in your work, your newspaper, your metaphysical bookstore, you do readings online, you have a kind of a radio type show that you do. Talk about some of the people you've helped. How do you do that? And give us an example of somebody.
You know how I think I help? I'm just present. I am real. There is not a person in Atlanta. I was, the newspaper was pretty successful in the, when you talk about success, everybody, it turned out to be a pretty big endeavor, we did, we printed 40,000 copies a month, 3 million people read us online. It got to be, where it just kind of rolled. And I used to say, none of us are doing this. This is God's paper. This has to be God's paper, because it certainly wasn't my idea, and so I always go back to the source. But people can find me. People can find me, and people like me. So, you can find me, and I'm always going to give you my time. It doesn't matter. I always say, no matter what I had to do, no matter what, I would say, I'll make that up if I have to work through the night. I will be with you. If you get in touch with me and you need me, I will be with you. And I think that that's the best thing you can do for people, is be present for them and always willing to help them. And if they're in front of you, I say, do you really want to hear what I have to say about this? I always make sure that they can take what I have to say, because 33 years of bar, people are people, Jack. People are people all over the world. And we all want the same thing, which is love and to be understood. And all we want is people, and we want to be listened to. We want people to hear us.
Yeah, it's huge. People need to be heard, have their story listened to, and their experiences listened to. Talk a little bit about your book. Share with us the title and what your intention for people to read that book is.
Well, I don't know that we're going to have time in this interview, but I had a daughter. I was never married. And many years later, my daughter took her life in 2012. And so I had a reader tell me years ago that I had her in a past life. So I've always been very interested in karma. And I understand, and I don't understand karma. You know what? None of us are ever going to really understand karma. We have ideas of things. We have an idea of what happens on the other side. I know I'm going to see Jody again because I have to. Everybody that loses a kid, if we didn't have that, no matter how crazy it is, we have to have that. We can't go on if we don't know or have an idea of what the other side is like. But do we know? Absolutely not. We don't have any, So So I think that for the most of the people, what I looked at, I said, I've been working since I was 6 years old. I had a crazy ass mother. A lot of people have that. So they would relate to, how do you get from there to the next step? How did you manage to do this? And I have a little bit of a weirdness, because the only thing I knew from early is that if I worked every day and paid my own bills and kept my integrity, that nobody could own me. Nobody can own me, and I could make my own decisions. And guess what? Even with the Aquarius, in the early days, everybody thinks they know more than you. But if you hold what you think is right, and the paper were to go under, guess what? Well, I just did it wrong, right? But when you start depending on other people so much, in my world, then, it's like, well, I shouldn't have been such a dummy. I shouldn't have done it that way, and not that we're not going to make mistakes. I made a mistake selling Aquarius, but I didn't, because everything in my world happens as it should. I look at getting better, but I don't look at regrets, and I don't live in outcomes. It's pretty simple.
Well, yeah, I think your book it's a wonderful story of an amazing journey through life to where you are now, and you're helping lots and lots of people. Where can people learn more about your work? How can they contact you? And I know you have a show you do, and also you got your book coming out. How do they reach you? How do they find out about you?
The best place to go is to gloriaparker.com, because it's pretty easy. And then I've kept everything wrapped around my name, so gloria.parker@gmail is my email. And so everybody, everybody can reach me there. And the book, as it proceeds and gets, pre-sales or whatever we do, will be on the website, because I like it to be simple, where everybody can just go one place and find what they need to find.
Very good. Well, the reason I invited you on this show to be interviewed is I find you're one of the more interesting people I've ever met. Your life story is quite interesting. I think it could be a movie someday. I encourage people to read it. And I want to thank you for joining us, Gloria, and go to her website, find out more about her work, everybody. And thanks again, Gloria. I appreciate you joining us.
Oh, it's been more than a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay. And for all of you listening, again, your life also is a journey. And I want you to have as much information as possible to help you make that journey an easier one that's able to understand it. You can find your gift and bring it into the world, much as Gloria has. And look forward to supporting you in doing that. Please join us next week. We'll have another great guest on that can inspire you and educate you, motivate you, and lift you up, encourage you, so that you too can live an outstanding life that may be worthy of a book as well. So until then, stay healthy and stay safe.